Hi, this is Dr. George Fraser. I want to talk about leadership. I want to talk tonight about the power of the human connection. I want to talk about the seven biggest mistakes that we make when networking that will ruin your reputation and destroy your business. Yes, three topics. I'm going to meld them all together. Everything begins with leadership. When we're properly oriented in leadership, it helps us to facilitate change. What is leadership? I've sort of defined it for myself. I think to be a leader is to be awake and alert and to be dissatisfied at all times. Yes, we have come a long way, but we have much further to go. Therefore, I am not happy, but I am motivated by a positive anger directed towards positive change. That's one definition. It's maybe my definition of leadership. Another definition would be leadership is influence. Who are we influencing? We're influencing our children. Because if our children cannot see the future, they will not pay the price. Everything we do for our children. We do it for succeeding generations. Leadership is action. It is not some appointed position. No one has to appoint you to do right by your community. No one has to appoint you to do right by your family. No one has to appoint you to do right by your friends. It's action, not an appointed position. And finally, leaders understand that everything begins with words. The Bible tells us that. First, there was the Word. Everything begins with words. And everything is a system. So leadership is a system. And there are 5 steps to the leadership system. And the first step is what? Words. Words are powerful, properly said, properly phrased, making complex things simple, using the power of words. That's the first step in the system of leadership, becoming a master of your words. And through words, hopefully, you achieve the second step of leadership, and that is consciousness. So perhaps something I might say to you today may raise your consciousness about a particular thing that you had not thought about. That's the second step. The third step is from this consciousness, hopefully you get excited or you get passionate about this thing that has come to your attention. So what are the first 3 steps again? First, words. Second, hopefully raising of consciousness. Third thing is hopefully through this consciousness, you get excited about it. And then once you get excited about something, what is it that you do? You take action, right? And then it is through action we get change. That's the system of leadership that leads to effective change. Now, here's a warning about change, brothers and sisters. Change, of course, but start slowly because direction is much more important than speed. Take your time, go slow, go measured, think about what your result should be. I think Stephen Covey taught us that many, many years ago. If you haven't read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, what did he say? Begin with the end in mind. To be a truly successful leader is to understand that you must transcend being good at functional tasks, but not just functional tasks, and analytical and problem solving. Yes, you have to be good at those, but you've got to transcend those. You must be able to build relationships that enable you to create a fabric of personal contacts that will provide you support, feedback, insight, resources, and information. That's called networking. Leaders understand that the alternative to effective networking is to fail, that you simply will not reach a leadership position or you will not succeed at leadership without effective networking skills. Leaders are great networkers and can work effectively with a diverse array of people. We all must become leaders with powerful networking skills. Another way to say effective networking, a little softer way of saying it, is now I call the power of the human connection. The power of the human connection. Let's look at it that way. Genesis 1:31. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, he said it was good. There's only one time in the Bible, 800,000 words in the Bible, where God was not happy. This is God. He was not happy with his own work. And you could read it in Genesis 2:18. And the Lord God said, it is not good. Let me start over again. It is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. And he grabbed Adam's rib and made Eve. There's a biblical declaration also on the power of the human connection. And God's love for the human connection was very, very clear. And he gave us two ways to ensure that we connected. He gave us sex and money. Now, let me unpack that for you. Sex is initiated by ecstasy. There's no feeling on earth like it. But that is not the goal of sex. The goal of sex is what? Procreation. To create more of God's children to serve you and for you to serve. That's the goal of sex. And then he gave us money. This is brilliant. How do you earn money? You earn money through service. That's how you earn money. And the more skills you have, the more services that you can provide, the more people that you can provide those services to, the more money you earn. Malcolm Gladwell, one of my favorite authors, said it beautifully. He said the most common attribute of the rich are friends, contacts, and connections. That rich people have lots of friends. Make no mistake about it. So, what are we saying? I'm saying that without other people to serve you and you to serve them, you have nothing. Relationships are everything. I consider the human connection to be customer service. And for me, customer service is close to worship service. Why is that important? Because many is always smarter than one. I don't care how genius you are, how good you are. You wrap yourself with people around you who are as smart or smarter than you. You always have sort of a walking library of people that you can connect with, you can talk to, you can run your ideas about. So the human connection is critically important. Why is this human connection? Why is networking important for not only life, but in business? Business especially, well, think about this. Business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business we're all really in is the business of building relationships. And when you're properly connecting, when you're properly networking, you get a chance to meet and to connect with potential clients, people that did not know, maybe have not met. You get a chance to get outside of your business and to open yourself up to new ideas. This is what networking really helps to facilitate. It helps you to build your confidence and it gives you exposure. You can gain support and you can gain knowledge from people who are further along in their business than you are. These are just some of the simple things that are critically important. You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Introduce me to your 5 closest friends, and that will tell me who you are. As they know and as they go, so go you. The fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are where you want to be. A simple way of saying that is don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. Let me make that simpler. If you can't build with them, don't chill with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. If you're not where you want to be in life, it's because you don't have the right people in your life. That's on you. You chose them. There's a another biblical declaration. It is a direct quote from Jesus Christ. Again, there are 800,000 words in the Bible, and you realize that only, I think it's 1,300 words are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. It's John 5:30. And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this was Jesus Christ, the Son of God, and he couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. But he had 12 disciples, one turned on him. So we all need the power of the human connection. We all need to be attached to someone, something. Now, what is the most important decision you will make in your life? Your decision on your life partner. Mess that up 2 or 3 times and see what your life looks like. Now, I'm living testimony. I don't know where I would be if I had not been married and still married to Nora Jean. 52 years. I don't normally say it that way. When people ask me, well, Dr. Fraser, how long have you been married? I say, 30 incredible years, 51 total. Because not all of those years were incredible. There was hills and valleys and twists and turns, and we were learning each other. And we were making our mistakes, and we were teaching each other how to connect, how to be, how to support, how to love each other. That took some time. So, very important decision, your life partner. And it's a lot easier said than done. Let me review that in a different way. The most powerful asset that you will have in the 21st century, brothers and sisters, kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen, will not be your computer, and it will not be AI. It will be your relationships. Let me say that a different way. You don't really build a business. You build your people, and your people build your business. I want to repeat something I said earlier. I can't emphasize this enough. All of us are in some sort of business, whether it's some entrepreneurial venture, whether we are working as a professional in a public sector, private sector, organization, we are in some form of business. So what did I say earlier? Business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the most important business you are in is in the business of building relationships. I've been at this for nearly 50 years. I wrote a book on this subject 32 years ago called Success Runs in Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the Black Community. It is a modern day classic. It is required reading in 57 historically Black colleges. It is the book that started the networking conversation in our culture and community and ultimately started the networking movement. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying it was, and by the way, let me be honest with you. I did not really write that book. I was just the download. And let me tell you how to get a download. Sit in a comfortable seat. What I do is I get a yellow legal pad. I get a pencil with a big eraser on it. And then I just quietly think. And the download comes. And then whatever comes in my brain, I write it out. Now, where does that download come from? It probably comes from a power much greater than me. That's how you write books. Be quiet. Think. Read. Read. Then think. Then read some more. Then think. And then all that you are supposed to write about will come to you. What have I learned about our people in 80 years of living and almost 50 years of serving them? We make some mistakes. when it comes to effective networking. We do. And so that's really the crux of this conversation that I'm having with you right now. And I entitled it, as I said to you earlier, The 7 Biggest Mistakes We Make When Networking That Will Ruin Your Reputation and Destroy Your Business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with number 7, and then I'm going to work my way up to number 1. What's the 7th biggest mistake? In almost 40 years in business, I've given out about 31,000 business cards. And people used to say to me, Dr. Fraser, you give out your business card, it has your cell number on it, your email address on it, everything on it. Aren't you afraid that people are going to bug the hell out of you? I said, no, I'm not afraid at all, because I've learned something about our culture. Of the 31,000 business cards that I've given out, less than 1/10 of 1% of people ever followed up. I don't have to worry. And you got a business card from Black America's networking guru, and you still didn't follow up. The fortune is in the follow up. The president today of FraserNet, Delano A. Johnson, is the president because we met about 9 years ago, one circumstance after another. But what he did was follow up. He followed up, and he kept following up. And eventually he became a part of the organization, and he rose through the ranks. And because he initiated this relationship through follow up, now he runs the organization. You just never know. The fortune is in the follow up. Why don't we follow up? That's the question. Well, there are just a whole lot of reasons we typically don't follow up. And the greatest reason that I have, and this is just research by walking around, when I run into a person that I'd given a business card to, I said, I never heard from you. What happened? He said, you know what, Doc, I lost the card, or I misplaced the card, or I wrote it down on a piece of paper and I forgot where I put it. So I don't think it is predominantly intentional. I just think that people have a lot on their mind. They're networking at a conference or a workshop or a seminar, and they really do they wouldn't ask for a card if they didn't really want to connect with you. But for one reason or another, it is misplaced. So that should be a lesson to you. If you ask for a card, make sure that you put it in a place that you will remember. In my case, I put my card that I asked for in my right suit pocket. I'm always wearing a suit. So at the end of the day, and I take off my suit, I just reach into my right pocket, and that's where the card is. And then I give out my card, and you'll notice if you've ever asked me for a card, I take it from my left pocket. So I separate my card from the cards that I give. So I have outgoing cards in the left pocket, and then I have the incoming cards in the right pocket. I'm right-handed. So I have a little system to remember where the cards are. And as soon as I get back to the office, 99% of the time, I will send a simple email or a text message. So those are my instructions to you. Follow up, follow up, follow up. There should not be a card that you get or a call that is made to you for one reason or another that you do not follow up on that call within 24 hours. At the worst, 48 hours. Follow up. The fortune is in the follow up. I am really good at following up. And I cannot even begin to tell you, other than having the awesome pleasure of selecting a brilliant young man to run this organization as my successor and take it to another level and into the future. Follow up. So that's the 7th biggest mistake that we make. What is the 6th? We make a poor first impression. And people are out networking lots of people around, your conferences, workshops, seminars. People do not have time to hear your life story. I'm sure your life story is interesting, but not now. What they really want is enough information from you to pique their interest so that they will want to know more about you later. This becomes one of the incentives of asking for your card. They really want to get to know you, but they don't have a half hour to spend with you. Generally speaking, we're not talking about having a private dinner and to get your life story. So you have to keep it short. It's called an elevator pitch. Why is it called an elevator pitch? It's because it takes about 20 seconds to go from the first floor to the sixth floor. So if you meet someone on an elevator, you have an introduction that will last to the sixth floor. The person is going to get out. So a productive and effective elevator pitch has 5 components. Who you are is number 1. Where you're from is number 2. What you do is number 3. Very, very important. Basic information. The last 2 are the most important. How do you add real value? Because people are dialed into one radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? They'll never say that to you, but that's what they're listening for. How do you add real value? And if you add real value, quantify it and prove it to me. So let me give you my little elevator pitch. And you might want to write this down. You might want to record it. Hi, I'm Dr. George Fraser from Cleveland, Ohio, by way of Brooklyn, New York. I'm the CEO and founder of FraserNet Incorporated. I write books and speak on economic development and wealth creation and the power of the human connection. I help people turn acquaintances into friends and contacts into contracts. And over the last 40 years, I've helped over 10,000 people secure over $2 billion in new business. Good to meet you. Oop, there it is. And shut up. Now, if that piques a person's interest, guess what they're going to do? Wow. They may not say wow. They would say, would you mind giving me your business card? If it does not pique their interest, maybe they won't ask for a business card. You complete the conversation, you bless them and release them, and then move on. That is a power networking proper introduction. Good first impression. A second part of a good first impression is your facial expression and your body language. Now, do you know what you look like when you get up in the morning and there's nobody around you and your face is just in its organic and natural position to nearly 50 muscles, small muscles in the face? And unless you prepare your face for the public, you might look threatening. You might not have an inviting looking face. I've looked at my face in the morning under natural, no muscle management movement, and it isn't very friendly. I don't have a big cheesy smile, and I tend to frown naturally. I'm not frowning on purpose. It's just how the muscles move in my face. So I have to, this is years and years of managing this. I have to position and move the muscles in my face so I don't look so off-putting. You typically will see me, even if I'm standing around, with a slight smile on my face because it moves my muscles in such a way that makes my face look friendlier. If you see me observing something, on the stage. If you catch me reading on a plane, my face looks pretty serious, and I don't want to project that to the public, generally speaking. So, manage the muscles in your face. Understand that your body language and your facial expressions say all kinds of things about you. And people have all different interpretations of those things. So you manage those impressions. The third aspect of a poor first impression, and this is very popular in our culture, probably 25% of the people that I find extraordinarily interested in and want a business card from them so that I could follow up with them do not have a business card. You should never not be at a business meeting without some sort of portable information, whether it's electronic today, that's very easy, or it's an actual card. That should not be possible today. Okay, this you must fix that. I've had people who I asked for a business card, they had nothing on them, and this is before electronic cards. They would actually, I've had probably 20 people in my career who have run into the bathroom, got a piece of toilet paper, and wrote all of their information on a piece of toilet paper. You know what I did with that? The same thing you do with toilet paper. Be prepared. When people want a card, make sure it is available and easily accessible. So that's number 6. Fix your first impression. First impression is the last impression. That's number 5. Now, I'm sort of an expert in number 5 because it speaks to the whole idea that most of us, Black people in particular, do not spend enough time networking. And about 13 years ago, the company commissioned the Gallup organization to do a longitudinal study on the networking differences between Black people and white people. Here's the study. And you'll see, so you don't think I'm making this up. Here it says here on the bottom, the Gallup organization, and here's 150 pages on 1,000 people, 1,000 Black people, and 1,000 white people on the differences between how we network. Now, a couple of interesting things. We don't have enough time for me to go over the whole report, but a couple of things jumped out when you read the report. White people, on average, spend between 35 and 40% of their time working on cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships at work, at home, and in the community. Black people, at the time that we did this study, were spending about 10% of their time. In fact, 20% of the Black people in the study said that networking wasn't really important, that their education was more important than effective networking. Wrong. So spend more time working on your network. You have 3 kinds of networks that you're going to have to work on through every passage of your life. 3. Number 1, what I call your personal network. These are your close personal friends. These are the people that know you, love you, respect you, hug you, kiss you. These are the people who are your rides and dies. Let's call that you have a personal network. Let's call that your network at home. That's number 1. You're going to work on that for all of your life. Number 2, your operational network. These are the people that help you to get specific tasks done in life. You help them, they help you. They platoon, come in and out of your life through all passages of your life. There are very few people, if you can count them generally on one hand, that has been with you since 1, and I'm now 80 to 80. Very few people that has been in your life, all of your life, other than family, close family. So, your operational network is critical. The third network that you're going to have to work on all your life is your strategic network. These are the people that are smarter than you. These are the people that will drag you into the 21st century kicking, screaming, and crying. These are the people that are where you want to be. These are the people that can ultimately be your mentors and coaches. That's your strategic network. And you should be spending at least 30% of your time cultivating, nurturing, and building those relationships. I don't mean out and about. I mean just people that you meet, following up on people. You can meet people almost anywhere, but a significant chunk of your life should be working on that aspect of your life. Number 4, we're getting down to the top 3, and that is you have no networking system. Everything is a system. I know when I talk to brothers and sisters all over this country, I tell them if you don't have a system, you don't have a business. I don't know what you have, but it's not a business. What is your system? How do you habitualize these things that I'm talking about? So I'm going to give you my system. This is a system that I have used for 40 years, every single day, 6 days a week, 365 days a year. I habitualize it. In other words, I just automatically do them. I don't even have to think about it. Here is my system. I call it the system of fives. Every single day, I make 5 notes a day to somebody in my network. Now, that's really easy with text messages, emails. You don't have to get a fancy piece of paper, fancy card, and a fountain pen and write a note and put it in an envelope. No, that's the old days. No, you have a huge network. At least 5 of those people you should make some sort of contact with. Even if it's just a text message, hey, good morning, good afternoon, how you doing? We haven't talked in a while. That doesn't take any more than 3 to 5 minutes. That's number one. Every single day, I make 5 phone calls a day to old friends and family. Now, you got to be careful with this one because old friends and family, you can get into lengthy conversations and you have to frame the conversation right. And the conversation goes like this when you call up an old friend or a family. Listen, I was getting on a plane. I'm on my way to Albuquerque. The plane is about to take off in the next 5 or 6 minutes. I was thinking about you. I just wanted to touch base, see how you're doing. So that frames the conversation with the other person on the other side. You can make up any excuse that you want, but it's not the kind of thing you want to spend a half hour, unless you intend to spend a half hour. You're really just touching base. Right. So five phone calls a day, at least. Now, often it's more than that. Number three, the third thing I do is make 5 personal contacts every single day to new friends. I have a stack of cards that are active on my desk, and I have cards in my drawer. So that's who I pick a card up and I make a personal contact. I may send them a text message. I may send them an email. I may make a phone call. Just depends on who it is. But this keeps me on top of keeping up with the information that I get and then following up on it. Number four, here's the fourth thing I do, the fourth 5. I make 5 sales calls every single day, but I'm not selling anything because the last thing I want the people that I sell stuff to is that the only time they hear from me is when I want to sell them something. No. How's your son doing? Did he ever graduate from the last time we talked, he was getting ready to graduate from high school or graduate from college or whatever the case may be, some little personal detail. Keep it short. Everybody is busy and make 5 sales calls, but they're not really sales calls. You're just making a sales call to people who you've added value to, but now you just want to touch base with them. The fifth and final thing is the most important thing I do every single day. I make 5 introductions every single day of people who need to know each other. I cannot even begin to tell you the value that has brought to me over a lifetime of doing this. It's always somebody you meet. You really need to know so-and-so. I know a great guy, Delano A. Johnson. He is a savant when it comes to design. I know you're working on your new marketing plan or whatever the case may be. You really need to know him. You help that friend. You help both friends. So that is a networking system. It's a system. Now, the 3, I'm down to the last 3. So this is going to sound negative. And that is, you bring nothing to the table. You're networking, but you really bring nothing to the table. In order to bring something to the table of life, you've got to be committed to lifelong learning, personal growth and development, and constant never-ending improvement. You got to read. What's the old saying, trope that we have in our culture? If you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. You got to read. Now, I happen to read about 100 books a year, but the average American only reads 1 book a year. If you read 1 book a month, in 5 years, you will have read 60 books. The average American will have only read 5. And yes, as I said earlier, this is not a green screen. That's my library in my office, in an office building, not in my home. There are 2,500 books in my office and thousands in my home. So my wife told me the other day, you bring home another book, you're going to have to sleep with the books because there's no more room. Read. Now, why am I able to read so much? I travel a lot. I have 10.5 million frequent flyer miles. I'm flying all over the place. What am I doing while I'm flying from point A to point B? What am I doing while I'm sitting in an airport, waiting for my flight? You know how many hours of just waiting time and flying time that is? What am I doing with that time? I'm reading. There is no week I don't read the Sunday New York Times. Hell, I count that as a book. It'll take you a week to read the Sunday New York Times. The Sunday New York Times is 800,000 words. Now, I don't read every single word, but there's just enough information in it, global information from all over the world, and everything you could possibly imagine, you pick and choose. But read, then you bring something to the table. This is extraordinarily important. You're a 360-degree person. You can have a conversation, know a little bit about a lot of things. Very, very important if you want to be a master networker. Now, number 2, what is the second biggest mistake we make? Most people think that their IQ is more important than their EQ. That's what they think, right? What is EQ? Emotional quotient. What is the common term for it? Emotional intelligence. No. What you're going to learn as you get older, wiser, and smarter is that your EQ will be far more important than your IQ. What is EQ? It is really learning how to control your core emotions of happiness, sadness, anger, fear, and shame. It is a relatively new science. It's about 25 years old, and I keep a book handy. I've read it at least 10 times, called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. You can pick it up at the airport. It's a relatively small book. You read this book a couple of times, and your whole life will change in how you comport yourself and how you talk to people, and how you handle people, how you ask questions, how you answer questions. Emotional intelligence. So again, you could have the IQ of Einstein, but if you have a low emotional intelligence, a low EQ, you're not going to get where you're going. I'm sorry, I don't care how smart you are. If you have the personality of a box of rocks, you ain't going nowhere. You must combine intelligence with a high emotional intelligence. So IQ with EQ, and it's the proper balance of that. Finally, what is the number one mistake that we make? I sort of talked all around it and all over it and said it in many different ways. What's the biggest mistake we make? Most people network to get something. Wrong. You network to give. And as you give, you get. If you ain't giving nothing, you ain't getting nothing. If you have nothing, it's because you've given nothing. That you cannot take out of life that which you have not put into life, just as you cannot take out of the bank that which you have not put into the bank. Giving, adding value. This is hugely important. One of the best questions I ask people when I'm networking with them, it's a simple question. I think it's the most powerful question that you can ask any human being other than mentioning their name. And you can add their name to it. It could be Bob or Sarah. How can I help you? How can I help you? Help me understand how I can help you. I generally lead with that question. So it goes like this. Help me, help you, help me. You see, because we are designed by God for giving. That's really what it's about. When you give and you give without expectation, you're depositing into the bank of life called giving. And understand that God has designed the system that we live in so that it is impossible to give and not get. Now, I may not get it back from you directly for something perhaps I've helped you with, and I don't ask you, but it is impossible to continue to deposit in that bank, not gain interest from it, and get it back. That is how the system works. So network to give, not just to get. Develop your emotional intelligence. Learn it. It doesn't come to you. You're not born with it. Learn it. Read about it. It's a simple science, but it's a very, very powerful science. So you got the 7 biggest mistakes we tend to make when networking that could potentially ruin your reputation and destroy your business. I want to close with a couple of things. Outside of the Bible, I taught, you may have heard me say this, but it bears repeating. Life will not be easy. If it was easy, why would God need you? There will always be obstacles. And my favorite quote outside of the Bible is a quote by Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was one of the five great Caesars. And Marcus Aurelius said in 600 BC this: the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. Let me say that a different way. The obstacle is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way. What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment that he feels that you are prepared for? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under that obstacle, to trip and fall, make mistakes, and learn the lessons from that obstacle. It was put there for a reason, something you needed to learn. And then you learn those lessons, and then you apply those lessons to the next assignment the Creator has given you. And then what's the next thing the Creator does when you get your next assignment? He puts another obstacle in your way. And again, your job is to find a way to overcome through and around that obstacle. And when you do that, you get an atta girl or an atta boy from God. And really, if you really look back over your life, it is really about the successful navigation and extracting the learning experiences from the obstacles that were put in your way. So let me say that differently. Obstacles do not block the path. Obstacles are the path. There are some things, brothers and sisters, kings and queens, that you can only learn in a storm. And by the way, there are no exceptions to this rule. None of us are perfect. We all must learn and we must grow. No pain, no gain, no resistance, no strength, no rain, no rainbow. Obstacles. Finally, when the Buddha was asked, what is the biggest mistake humans make? The Buddha replied, the biggest mistake that humans make is to think they have time. I will tell anybody in New York I'm going to do anything, but don't waste my time. I will get more money, but I will not get any more time. And I don't know how much time I have, and I don't want to know, but I'm not going to allow it to be wasted. Interesting study by the New England Journal of Medicine. I read this study about 5 years ago. It's a study on the 3 most productive periods of your life. What's the 3rd most productive period of your life? Between 50 and 60. The 2nd most productive period of your life is between 70 and 80, according to science. And the number 1 most productive period of your life is between 60 and 70. Now, what does that say? Between 0 and 49, you're just learning. I don't care what you've done and where you are, you're just learning. Are there exceptions to that rule? Probably would be in the area of sports in certain areas. But yes, but generally speaking, the most productive period of life, you are being prepared to do your best work the last 30 years of your life. The average age of a Nobel Prize winner is 62. The average age of pastors of 100 largest churches in America is 71. The average age of a pope is 76. Mandela became president when he was 76. Gandhi got the independence of India at 61. Ray Kroc founded McDonald's at 59. Toni Morrison won her Pulitzer Prize for Beloved at 57, then won the Nobel Prize at 62. Frank Lloyd Wright, I just love architecture. He's one of the great architects, an icon in architecture. He completed his magnum opus, his finest work, the Guggenheim Museum. He finished the Guggenheim Museum at 91. Your best work is ahead of you. Act like it. Continue to grow and to prepare yourself. It's never too late to start something big. I mean, is at my age, I'm thinking big and starting things big. No, I know that I will never see the completion of some of those things, but it will be passed on, and it will lay the foundation and seeds for others to build on and ultimately to achieve whatever that vision and goal is. You can do the same. Life is a beautiful thing, and we are privileged, blessed to have this time to live this life. It's only one time. Do you, because everybody else is taken. That's my story on the 7 biggest mistakes. I'll see you at the conference in Atlanta, November the 5th through the 8th. Be there. Help us to connect, grow, and prosper so that we can do the ultimate thing that we all want to do, and that is to learn, earn, and return. We got a lot of us learning and a lot of us earning. We need more of us returning. This is a return. I'm Dr. George Fraser. May God continue to bless you.